Welcome to the virtual board meeting of Metrolinx. We're still here. Some of us are back in the office. You can see I'm here in my office, and our staff are coming back on a hybrid model, but we are still meeting virtually. We have had an incredibly busy week. My name is Anne-Marie Aikens, and I'm the head of Media and Public Relations. And I want to welcome you all and thank you for your interest in the Metrolinx agenda today. We are going to first kick it off with our chair, Don Wright, who is going to read you the land acknowledgement before we turn it over to our CEO, Bill Verster, who will give us our update before we then follow through with the agenda. So I want to welcome you again, and I will see you at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our last board meeting for this year. As we start this morning's meeting, we will begin with our land acknowledgement. Let us take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of Indigenous peoples, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat people. We are all treaty people. Many of us have come here as settlers and immigrants in this generation or generations past. Metrolinx declares its commitment to building meaningful relationships with Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the historic and continued impacts of colonization and the need to work towards meaningful reconciliation with the original caretakers of this land. We acknowledge that Metrolinx operates on lands covered by 20 treaties, and that we have a responsibility to recognize and value the rights of Indigenous nations and peoples, and conduct business in a manner that is built on the foundation of trust, respect, and collaboration. Thank you. Before we get to our safety briefing, I want to invite Phil Verster, our CEO, to speak for a few moments about the fatality that happened on the Lakeshore East Line last Saturday. Phil?
Thank you very much, Chair. On Friday evening last week, it became evident to us that there was an accident on our Lakeshore East Line during a maintenance activity led by one of our contractors. The sad news is that during the accident, an employee of our contractor died due to the fatality of the nature of the accident. We are working very closely with the Ministry of Labour, as so is our contractor, to complete urgent investigations into the incident so that we can understand the root causes, that lessons can be learned, and that we can rectify this going forward. With that in mind, I hand over to David Jang to lead with the safety moment. David.
Thanks so much, Phil. Good morning, everyone. So for our safety moment this morning, I wanted to share the importance of emergency first aid and CPR training. The ability to provide CPR and knowing how to operate an automated external defibrillator can mean the difference between life and death in just a few short minutes. Very recently, there was an incident that some of you may be aware of or have read or heard about involving one of our incredible customer service ambassadors, Carrie Merriman, who has joined us here today. With the help and support of some Go customers and eyewitnesses, Carrie had to call upon her training to deliver life-saving CPR to a passenger who seemed to be having a heart attack. Whenever we have such incidents on board our trains, often it's our customer service ambassadors that are the first responders, ensuring the appropriate assistance is given until the arrival of EMS. While training is mandatory for some groups of employees, Metrolinx makes emergency first aid training available to all employees and encourages us all to sign up and complete the training. We've seen time and time again how critical having the skill and knowledge can be, both on the job and off the job. We never know when the moment will come and who will be impacted, but being equipped to respond in an emergency makes a huge difference in the lives of others. It also gives meaning to our safety charter promise to keep ourselves and everyone else safe. Thanks so much. And thank you to Carrie.
Thank you, David. Just before I get on to talking about some letters that I've received over the course of the last little while, I just want to go back to the fatality, and on behalf of the entire board, I'd like to offer our sincerest condolences to the family of the victim. The following correspondence has been received and distributed to our board. a letter from Safety Park dated October 19th regarding the site selection process for the Ontario Line Maintenance and Storage Facility. A letter from the Save Jimmy Simpson Community Group dated November 10th regarding the Ontario Line Health Impact Assessment commissioned by Save Jimmy Simpson and the South Riverdale Community Health Center. A letter from various students, planning, and alumni associations of Ryerson University and the University of Toronto Scarborough, dated November 30th, thanking Metrolinx staff members for being guest speakers at several events held by their organizations over the fall. And a letter from A Voice for Transit, dated December 1st, requesting that GO reintroduce a co-fare with the TTC. So that's it for the correspondence. Today's agenda has several interesting items, including how we've been making progress on our capital projects, further updates on our customer campaign to welcome riders back as we get through the pandemic, and building a greener region plan. So before we get to these presentations, I'd like to invite Phil Verster to give us his CEO update. Phil?
Thank you again, Jay. It's an exciting time for us as we work towards finishing the year strong and with the delivery of our 2021 and 2022 business goals well on target and within sight. It has been a challenging but also very exciting year for us. We've continued to manage through a historic loss of ridership, and though we are seeing passengers now returning gradually, it has been a very, very challenging year. We've become much more agile and nimble in adjusting our transit services to meet demand, and we've seen demand vary and fluctuate throughout the year. And that's at the same time, we've significantly adjusted our cost base, and we've also adapted our business to make us more flexible and to account for the revenue loss we've experienced. And as we move through this period of recovery, I'm happy to report on all the progress we are making across our business with the wide range of objectives that we've set for ourselves, from safety to employee engagement and through to customer satisfaction. I'd like to start with a reference to ridership. We are currently at 23% recovery of our ridership when compared to our pre-COVID ridership levels. And with the holiday season approaching and implementing our various marketing strategies, some of which Sharon will talk about later, we anticipate that we will see even greater improvements going into the early part of 2022. And there's been a couple of milestones for us in this process. You know, our London Go service started last month and it's seen a very positive uptake and a great response from communities in the Southwestern Ontario area. And we've also achieved several major milestones on our capital projects, and Matt will be presenting on some of those as we go past. And the last piece of track has been installed on the Eglinton Crosstown LRT, which is very exciting because in November, 6 LRT vehicles traveled all the way from Laird Station in the east to the maintenance and storage facility at Mount Dennis in the west, which is a big milestone. We've also tested very extensively our LRT vehicles and the signaling systems on the at-grade section in the east. We can now travel all the way on the 19-kilometer distance from Mount Dennis through to Kennedy through all 25 stations, which is an extremely positive place to be as we enter the next year and getting close to completion on Eglinton Crosstown. On the Davenport Diamond Guideway, we installed the first set of steel girders that will form the bridge for Barry-Go trains to travel above the CP rail tracks. And we've also now delivered the second vehicle to the Finch West LRT project, with that LRT project progressing really well according to plan. Now, shortly after our last board in September, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the City of Hamilton, marking a very key part of that journey to get us to a proposed LRT, and we are now in the process of finalizing the procurement methodology and how we're going to engage the market in delivering this project. This week, we also reached another exciting milestone. We've received 2 bids on our Encore Go expansion program, This has been an extremely complicated procurement that's been in market for the last 2.5 to 3 years. A good example of where we started off with the P3 procurement model and contract form, which we've adjusted given market circumstances and market feedback to be a target price model with a significant development phase and a very collaborative approach to our contractors. We're really excited about this particular project, as it's going to be transformative for Go expansion throughout the region, increasing our capacity on our Go lines by a factor of 3 and a huge expansion in the Go services. There's other exciting things we've kept going through the pandemic period, and one of those are the innovations that we have with colleagues across the region. And our latest partnership with Durham Regional Transit, the Town of Whitby, Durham Region, Smart Cone, Auto Guardian and others, is one where we integrate the Whitby Autonomous Vehicle Electric Shuttle into our network. The autonomous shuttle provides first and last mile service for people in the neighborhood surrounding the Whitby Go station. What's good about this trial is there's a lot to learn, especially as we get to the more the colder period, the more challenging season of the year, and we're looking forward to seeing what that brings. Our Go expansion plans also include how do we convert the region into a greener region insofar as tree planting, our focus on parks and focus on communities are incorporated, and that goes for our subway program as well. And Kelly will talk to this somewhat in a presentation later this morning. I want to give you a few examples though, is that last month we collaborated with Alton Conservation to plant about 500 trees and shrubs. And to date, we have funded and coordinated the planting of approximately 24,000 native trees. And a few examples that are specific related to the Go expansion program and our work on Lakeshore East at Smalls Creek. We've removed 268 invasive trees, and we've replanted 2,000 trees and shrubs in that area. And I think what's really important here is that we work closely with the community, and we listen to communities, and we cannot always agree on all of the asks that we get from communities, but our commitment to a greener Ontario is undiminished. On Eglinton Crosstown West Extension, we've planted 400 trees in Scarlet Mills Park, and that's only the start of our overall commitment on that particular subway program. And then similarly on Leslieville and Riverside, there are 6 parks surrounding the Ontario line, and 4 of those parks, including McCleary Playground, Jimmy Simpson, Bruce Mackey, and the Gerard Carlo Parquet, those 4 parks are all being increased in footprint as part of the Ontario line focus on community benefits. For example, Jimmy Simpson will be approximately 700 square meters larger after we've completed our work, and we've listened very carefully to the community and adjusted our construction method as well as our solution to make sure that we put retention walls and noise walls in such a way that allows the parks to be made larger. And the Gerard Carlo Parquet dog park will be double the size because we are using a property that we've procured next to the parquet to convert into a larger park for the local community. And the McCleary Playground would be approximately 300 square meters larger. And this is all part of what we see as our commitment to community benefits. And I think it's really important that the 2 remaining parks are also not affected or smaller, and that we are committed to deliver community benefits to our communities. We are really excited about the work we are doing to positively impact on the economic recovery post-COVID. And you'll hear more about that today from our community engagement leadership team. In the next section, which we always have as part of the public board, where we give recognition I want to take a few moments to recognize some of our employees and to share some outstanding organizational achievements, which is quite fitting as we enter the festive holiday season and as we bring the year to a close. First of all, I want to welcome David Jang. David has joined us as our new Chief of Communications. Even though he's been with us for only a few weeks or so, he's already made a fabulous impact with the energy and the innovativeness and his people approach to get this very important division of ours to deliver on all of the exciting messages for our communities. Welcome, David. And I also would like to point out that we've got a senior management team with fantastic people on it, and there's 3 fabulous women that I would like to recognize. Lena Zhu, my Chief of Staff, was recently named as one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women by the Women's Executive Network. Carla Evers-Birch is our Chief Planning Officer, and she received the Ryerson University Alumni Achievement Award. Well, congratulations, Carla. And then Uma Gopinath, our Chief Information Officer, was featured as an innovator leading us into the future in the Women Travel Tech report by the Women Leading Travel and Hospitality Association. And women are making a huge impact in our organization and is a significant part of our team. Also, Vitu Mangiolardi is our Senior Manager for Business Continuity Management. And Vito, just last week, was nominated and announced as the winner of the 2021 Business Continuity Institute Global Award. Vito has led our team to ensure continuity, agility, and resilience during COVID, and we are so proud and so happy to celebrate with Vito this fabulous achievement. Congratulations to all of these managers and leaders. But there are more really imaginative successes from our employees who have gone beyond the call of duty to provide excellent service and for living our customer safety charter to the fullest extent. I want to start with Hung Hin, a signal system specialist who witnessed the car go through a barrier while he was driving home. His quick actions resulted in emergency responders arriving promptly to help the driver that was involved in this particular accident. Mark De Andrea is a track specialist who assisted a customer to onboard a GO train. The customer was in distress and missed their stop after becoming aware of a family emergency, and Mark's help was much appreciated. Kerry Merriman is a customer service ambassador, and Kerry, along with GO customers and other eyewitnesses, provided life-saving CPR support to a passenger who was traveling on a train. And Kerry's actions inform the safety briefing David shared earlier and underscores the emphasis we place on ensuring all our employees are trained and equipped in first aid so as to respond to these kinds of emergency situations and even just family and day-to-day emergencies. And it's just amazing and humbling for us when people like Kerry do the things that she's done here. And since the incident, one of the customers who assisted in Kerry in the incident wrote to us, conveying their appreciation for our actions and to also highlight how important CPR training is. Kerry, well done. Elaine Carter, a customer care coordinator who has been commended time and time again for excellent service to both her traveling customers and her peers, we'd like to recognize again, as well as particularly for a focus on safety and a willingness to help people on a day-to-day basis. And then I would also like to acknowledge Jonathan Friesen, a GO bus driver who, while on his route, witnessed an individual standing on an overpass and concerned for the person's safety, Jonathan stopped and secured his bus and intervened. His experience as a 911 dispatcher made him suspect the individual was contemplating suicide, and that intervention probably saved the life. John stayed with the individual, contacted the emergency service, and waited until they arrived to provide the necessary assistance. This is beyond the call of duty, and Jonathan, well done. But to Jonathan, Elaine, Kerry, Mark, and Hung, thank you so much for everything you do to help our customers and to keep everyone around you safe. Finally, I'd like to close with a few references to awards that Metrolinx has won recently. The Association of Registered Interior Designers of Ontario Impact Award was granted to us for work done on subway designs and for developing a new design standard. A 2021 Toronto Urban Design Award for the Guildwood GO station was awarded in the last couple of months. We also received the Canadian Council for Public-Private Partnership Award for Innovation and Excellence for the 401 Tunnel Project. Then the American Public Transit Association, APTA 2020, awarded us a prize for the bus COVID-19 program, and we received that as a gold award. Canada's Safest Public Transportation Employer Award was awarded to us by the Canadian Occupational Safety Association. And finally, we received gold awards for our It's Happening campaign at both the Canadian Marketing Awards and the London International Awards. This campaign draws a parallel between the messiness of construction and what we must do to improve transit, and the parallel is with the awkward teenage years. Both of these phases necessary in the process of achieving a positive change. I want to take a few quick minutes to share this video with everyone, and our tech team will play that video now.
The roving chatterbox is on the move. It's yakety yak yak all over the place. Luckily, you can head backety back to the office. Find your focus time. Find your go time.
Are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside my door, but my ride's still 17 minutes away.
Stuck in traffic, it's 10 to 1. 4-lane closure, this should be fun.
Don't think that you'll be catching your flight today.
This is an important transit message.
Did you know Metrolinx is planting 3 trees for every 1 they dig up? That's a whole lot of growth happening right there.
At Metrolinx, we're making more possible for more people.
You're right.
Don't believe us? Believe this. More transit means more people connecting with their passions. And dip. It means more grandpas joining more clubs. And more folks meeting giant jellyfish. More connections, more dates in new places. I'll have the soup du jour. Unicorn. Does it mean going to more animated film festivals? Sure does, little guy.
Oh, I don't take transit, so who cares?
You don't, but your new customers do. More transit means more access to healthcare for people and pet hamsters. More grads getting to their dream jobs quicker, and more city families moving to houses in the burbs. It's less this and more this. Aw, I just love a happy ending.
Nice.
Oh, come on. It's more than nice. It's happening.
So I think that was not exactly the video we had in mind to play, and I just want to check, are we queuing up the correct video that just shows the It's Happening campaign, or are we moving on? Okay.
Nolan, can you play the awkward video, please?
Metrolinx is building a world-class transit system for a better region.
But before that happens, it means going through
A phase.
How do I explain this? It's,
an in-between sort of, like, you know.
An awkward phase.
There's a pretty big gap between where we are now and where we want to be.
But all this messiness
means that change is actually happening.
Some changes you can already see.
Sick.
So while it may feel like you've been waiting forever,
and you're probably annoyed, like, all the time,
just know it's because we're all headed towards great things.
Sounds pretty cool.
and all of this
will be worth it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for our technical team for queuing another video there. So much appreciated. We apologize for a slight glitch, but you can see from that second, we call it the awkward video, as young people grow through awkward phases, and that's similarly true for as our huge investment program grows through its initial stages into successful transit solutions. So that received a few great awards for our marketing campaigns around that. However, I want to say a huge thank you to all of the Metrolinx teams for the hard work and dedication over this last year and over the last 2 years, really, as we've come through a really difficult pandemic period, but also maintained our customer-facing services, maintained our rate of production, and the fantastic work on our capital programs, which I will now hand over to Matt to quickly talk about what we've been doing on capital programs.
Okay. Thanks, Phil. Wait for Don.
Sorry, Matt. I just wanted to add one thing just before it went to you, and that is, Phil, we get to see what the team is doing on a regular basis, every week, every month as board members. And, it is incredibly inspiring to see what some of our people do on a day-to-day basis. So I congratulate you and the team for just superb work. So thank you. So over to you, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Phil. As you can hear from Phil's remarks, a massive amount happening across the capital project portfolio currently and over the last few months. I'm just going to spend 10 minutes giving just a few highlights and achievements from the recent period since the last presentation on capital projects progress. We'll start with the Union Station re-signalling project. The slide you can see here is one of 10 gantries being installed at Union Station as part of an incredibly complex, complicated and very important project for us to improve the signalling system through Union Station for the GO network, bringing us one step closer to completing signalling and train control improvement program. This project's been on its way for several years, mainly in the ground, completing stuff below ground, bases and cable routes and cabling and troughing and all these other vital elements. But now we have some really visible progress as these gantries, these huge gantries, start to be installed. The picture you can see here is from late August, where we installed 3 gantries in a weekend closure, and gantries installed on time, 0 incidents, a real feat of planning and coordination and construction management. So real success on this project now. These bridge segments are assembled at Go Transit's Willowbrook Rail Maintenance Facility, transported into one unit to Union Station Rail Corridor, and then lifted into place in one piece by crane. And you can see they come with the signal heads and a lot of the signalling equipment pre-installed to decrease impact on the rail corridor for later stages of construction. So great progress being made at Union Station now. Next slide, please. The second project to talk about here is Hurontario Light Rail Transit Project. It's a rapid transit project, 19 stops along 18 kilometers of track. And the picture you can see here is the maintenance storage facility, which is really starting to take shape. You'll be able to see this if you're driving down the 407 just past Hurontario, a vital piece of infrastructure as part of this project. This is where light rail vehicles will be maintained, cleaned and stored during the operation of the railway. Our contractor has recently finished enclosing over 10,000 meter squared building, which has interior space for 42 light rail vehicles with repair shops, material storage and cleaning facility. Just above the building in the photo is the Etobicoke Creek structure, which crews are working on now, an open bottom bridge with sidewalls and a flat top over Etobicoke Creek tributary that will allow the vehicles to travel between the maintenance storage facility and Hurontario Street. And another milestone in this project, just last week, the maintenance storage facility received a shipment of tracks, which are now being installed prior to the track work heading out onto the main line of the new project. So huge achievements and huge milestones being achieved on Hurontario now. Our next slide, a very exciting slide for us. This is our subway tunnel boring machines now on the move for Eglinton Crosstown West Extension and Scarborough subway extension. Both tunnel boring machines manufactured by Herrenknecht in Schwanau, hopefully I said that right, small town in Germany. The machines, after the machines are fully assembled and get their final acceptance certificates, they then get taken apart into pieces for transportation. The photos you can see here are of the single tunnel boring machine for the Scarborough subway extension project, a 12-meter diameter TBM, loaded onto a seagoing heavy freighter, the Jumbo Vision, which pulled out of the Netherlands last Saturday morning. So interesting fact, Jumbo Vision is in the middle of the North Atlantic currently, 1,000 nautical miles southwest of Mizen Head in Ireland. It's an interesting fact for us. Expected into the port of Oshawa later this month. The TBM segments then go to the launch site by truck to start assembling for early next year, and some incredibly important milestones for us on the Scarborough subway extension for commencement of tunnel boring in the spring. Both the Scarborough subway extension, Eglinton Crosstown West, making huge progress on the site at launch shafts and looking to be in really good shape to achieve the critical milestones of commencement of tunnels. Quick fact, we've invited the community to help us crowdsource names for these machines before they arrive in Canada. Voting for the shortlisted names is now open on each project's webpage on metrolinxengage.com. Moving quickly onwards, I know we haven't got too much time. The next project is part of our P3. So if we can have the next slide. Part of our P3 contract with LS Don to upgrade the Stouffville corridor. The photograph here is Unionville GO station. The project as a whole includes Unionville station, Agincourt station, Milliken station, and grade separation at Steeles Avenue. Actually, I was out on site with members of the board and the Capital Oversight Committee very recently looking at this project, and we were at Agincourt station and Steeles Avenue grade separation, and just a fantastic civil engineering project that's moving ahead very, very well now. So for Unionville, key changes to the station include reconstructed and relocated east platform, a new second island platform with snow melt systems, second track, which is vital to the upgrade of the service on the Stouffville corridor and moving from our limited current service to two-way all-day service. We have a second track, new turnaround track on either side of the island platform and supporting future service enhancements. So when the project's fully completed, we will have 300 new car parking spaces at Unionville, more bicycle storage, new pedestrian tunnels, elevators, canopies and integrated shelters, dedicated pedestrian paths. So a huge upgrade of the facilities at Unionville, and Agincourt Station, which I saw very recently, is completed and open and looking very, very good. The next project, and one area of the programme that we don't talk about enough, possibly, talk about GO Rail, rapid transit and subways a lot, but we also have a large bus infrastructure improvement programme. So definitely an area of the programme worth celebrating. The picture that you can see here is a new park and ride at Baldwin Street and Highway 7 East, constructed in partnership with the Ministry of Transportation. And some of the features of this project include a dedicated bus loop with 6 bus bays, accessible parking, passenger shelters, a 370 space parking lot, traffic signal, stormwater management ponds. But these park and rides really do provide excellent connectivity for our system and are a very important part of the capital programme and what we're upgrading across the area, the region. The next project, Ontario Line, just a massive amount happening as far as Ontario Line early works are concerned, and Phil really did touch on this in a fair bit of detail, so I won't spend too long on what we're doing with the parks. But we made the decision early in the programme to coordinate all the works that were happening for Ontario Line and GO in a common geographical area into one programme of works under one dedicated project team to ensure the design and build construction elements were properly coordinated and integrated and delivered in a unified way. In the portion of the joint corridor that you can see in the rendering here between East Harbour and Gerrard, we're using a design bid build model to deliver the works. That means that we design the works, and those designs are now heading through detailed design and nearing completion. That gives us a lot of control over how we deliver the works, the construction staging, the construction methodology. And as Phil spoke about earlier, that gave us a lot of potential to drive benefit in the way that we will deliver the works and maximise, as Phil said, the park areas, delivering retaining walls from inside the corridor closer to the tracks than would otherwise have been possible, and allowed us to extend the parks towards the tracks, which was a real result of a very collaborative effort between many parts of the Metrolinx organisation, the community engagement team, particularly the environmental team, and the project delivery teams. And finally, and Phil touched on this one as well, but some very exciting slides and pictures of Eglinton Crosstown light rail transit. So absolutely massive milestones on Eglinton Crosstown. The first photo on the left, as you're looking at it, is a golden clip representing the golden spikes that have been used historically through the railway to demonstrate or to celebrate the last section of rail being installed on the Eglinton Crosstown. The second photo on the right is from 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks after the last rail went in, when we were able to move the vehicles. And again, Phil touched on this, powered by the overhead line across the rail and through the whole length of the tunnel. And we now have a fully live operable railway from Mount Dennis to Kennedy, over 19 kilometres of operable railway, which is absolutely fantastic. And the third, another massive milestone at Eglinton, is the last of the 76 vehicles required for Eglinton Crosstown, receiving its final acceptance certificate on November the 12th. So all 76 vehicles now at FAC position. Again, huge milestone for the project. And that's it. That's just a few of the exciting developments in the capital programme over the last few months.
You sure have a lot on your plate, Matt. Very exciting stuff. Anybody have any questions of Matt? Okay, we'll go on to the next one. Sharon, I think you're going to take us through the Let's Get Ready to Ride.
Great, thank you very much, Chair. You can't tell behind my mask, but I'm very pleased to be here this morning. We've already seen my video, and that's okay, but I'll share some highlights across the brand portfolio of just some of the campaigns that are currently in market, and I'm happy then to take any questions that the board members might have. Next slide, please, Nolan. So I'm pleased to report that our Ready to Ride strategy has been executing as planned, and for the most part delivering exactly the results we predicted. So although weekday ridership is steadily returning, it's a little bit slower than expected. The great story here is the very strong rebound of our weekend leisure travelers. So our latest results are seeing almost 50% of pre-COVID levels, which are already high. So coupling this with a very impressive customer satisfaction level of 86%, and that's really largely driven by great service, great communications, and a strong perception of safety. So what our riders are telling us is that they are confident in going up as the safe, reliable way for them to rediscover and reconnect across the region, and that's wonderful. So Nolan, if I could take it to the go slide, not the next slide, but that'll be slide 3. So central to all of this recovery was the reinstatement of weekend service. That was really, really critically important. We also launched a very high-performing Go Beyond brand campaign, and that really promoted destinations such as Niagara. Sorry, Nolan, if you could go to the next slide, please. So that promoted destinations like Niagara, which actually exceeded pre-pandemic ridership levels. That was absolutely fantastic. What it told us is that people wanted to explore the region. We also had Toronto and Barrie, another 2 great destinations, obviously, for our riders. And there was a very attractive and popular unlimited travel weekend pass. So that also helped to really push people onto our trains on the weekend and take them out of their homes and out of their neighborhoods. So our focus on destination and event travel will continue through the winter. With the return of full capacity events, we're definitely seeing a lot of people wanting to go to all of those games and all of those concerts. I myself have already booked in for 3 in the next 6 months. And we want to find them new places to go. We're actually in conversations with Stratford right now and have our first event support with them for Lights on Stratford. So we're very excited with all of these new destination partners that we have lined up with us. So, but there's also, fun closer to home too. Our parking lots and stations have also been event destinations themselves. In fact, we're launching just tomorrow, Story Time with Santa at the Skywalk at Union Station. So for little kids and even big kids, it's a great way to have a fun and safe experience for the holidays. So we invite you all down to the Skywalk to meet Santa. Let me go to the next slide, please, Nola. So Up Express continues to see steady growth, and that's really coupled with the easing of travel restrictions. And there's been a really strong response to our new brand campaign that launched in 8 languages just earlier this fall, really reminding people that it's a reliable, affordable, and stress-free service to Pearson. And we're seeing that intention to travel internationally and domestically growing at about 12 to 27% respectively over the next 6 months. There is a pent-up demand. People want to reconnect with their families. They want to reconnect with the beach, and we want Up Express to be there to take them to and from the airport. Next slide, please, Nolan. And in fall, we launched a fresh new look and feel for Presto, both in mainstream and in multicultural. And what we were doing was promoting the mobile app. We wanted to ensure that as people return to our service, that they use this great customer experience on their mobile devices to load their app and manage their account. And what we saw was that our campaign actually overachieved. It delivered 77% more installations. And what's that telling us is that riders are gearing up to return to the office and in school in person, and Presto was there to help. Additionally, our Presto Perks discounts program is undergoing a bit of a revitalization. This was the little campaign that could just before the pandemic hit, with so many partners lined up with great offerings, and now it's having a revitalization. We're really, really excited about it. We have many prospects lined up at events, attractions, and experiences to provide Presto customers with exclusive discounts across the region. Our newest partner is Unzipped. That's the Rolling Stones exhibit out in Kitchener. And you can't always get what you want, but you can get 20% off general admission at Unzipped in Kitchener. So we invite you to head on down there. And more to come. We look forward to bringing back more news to the board next year about all of those great discounts. And on to the next slide, please, Nolan. And lastly, transit's on the road to recovery. We never stopped building during the pandemic, and we still have more work to do. But What we want to tell people right now is why we're building and really tell the story. We haven't quite done that in a significant degree. So we just this week launched a new campaign, which you saw the first spot in our reel at the start of the board presentation. And that is our More Than Transit, It's Happening campaign. And it really is highlighting all of the many personal benefits a seamless and connected network will bring to residents and businesses. So this campaign launched this week. It's being served in English, French, and 6 ethnic languages, and will live in online video, digital, social, radio, and out of home, and especially I'm excited about in cinema over the holidays. It's pretty anthemic, epic spot, and it deserves to be on the big screen. And we hope that if you're out and about over the holidays, especially enjoying some great movies, that you'll enjoy our spot there too. And with that, I would like to close, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments that the board has.
Thank you, Sharon. Anybody have any questions of Sharon? It was a great report, certainly brought us well up to date, a lot of things happening in your area. So we look forward to getting back to pre-pandemic times.
As do I. Thank you very much, Chair.
All right. Okay, we'll go on to the next thing on our agenda, building a greener region. I think David Jang and Kelly Hagan are going to handle this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe allow me to start by thanking you for inviting us here for this discussion. So today's report outlines how Metrolinx is supporting a sustainable transit network by creating a greener region, more environmentally friendly communities, as well as reducing gridlock. If I could get Nolan to advance to the next slide, that'd be great. So our resolution here today is to seek approval for Metrolinx to continue to advance programs and sustainability strategies that provide enhanced benefits to communities. These improvements cover the implementation of Metrolinx's capital program and services, including meaningful engagement with communities, enhancing parks and green spaces, as well as other community beautification initiatives. My colleague, Kelly Hagan, VP of Community Engagement, will provide you with a couple of examples of how we're bringing this strategy to life. I'll hand it over to Kelly.
Thank you. Nolan, maybe if you could advance to the slide that starts with the word communities. That's kind of where we're at in our notes now. So thank you, David and Mr. Chair and board, for welcoming us here today. Transit growth is by no means easy, but it can be easy to contribute to greening the region. Through our transit plans, we are adding over 600 kilometers of electrified GO tracks, we're reducing gridlock, and we're lowering greenhouse gas emissions. Our goal with our growth is to find the right balance between transit expansion and the regrowth and renewal in our communities. Next slide. In fact, we have a team of experts and partners that work with us to ensure we only take those trees that we need and that our plans are sounded and rooted in giving back to local green spaces. Next slide. And as you heard from Phil earlier, we have already replanted more than 24,000 trees and shrubs around the region, and we are looking forward to doing even more as our projects progress. Our transit plans will not only create new green spaces and new tree growth, but it's also creating new park spaces and renewing and revitalizing existing community spaces around our region. Next slide. Like in Leslieville and Riverside, we've heard and we know how important those park spaces are to those local residents. Well, we're going to protect those parks during construction, and we're actually going to make 4 of those parks almost 3,000 square meters bigger. This is going to allow us to work very closely with the City of Toronto and our communities to see what more community programming spaces could be added to those park spaces. In Smalls Creek, we've also heard how residents rely on the ravine each and every day, which is why we will be removing invasive species and replanting more than 2,000 native ones to restore that section of that ravine to a more natural environment. So next, advance 2 slides, please. We're also focused on greening our facilities and our track. It's also key to our sustainability strategy. Adding green roofs to maintenance and storage facilities and stations are also happening. Next time you travel through the Guildwood GO station, check out the rooftop pollinator garden that recently contributed to the station winning the 2021 Toronto Urban Design Award of Merit. Next slide. Let's also not forget the 200-year-old elm tree that we were able to design around, one that will forever be protected and remembered as our newly named station, Old Elm. This is really just the beginning. Our community engagement team will continue to work with our neighbors across our projects to listen, support, and inform them on the exciting work we are doing, and find those opportunities for us to partner and continue growing a greener region. I know that together we have the same goals: to deliver a world-class sustainable transit system and to build a greener region around it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. That was a great presentation. Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask before we move a motion? Okay, seeing none, could I get a motion on this item? Thank you. Thank you, Cleo. A seconder?
Happy to second it, Don.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. And thank you very much, Kelly and David. The next item on the agenda is really just for information. It's the report of our different divisions. I'll take those as read. Is there any other questions or anything that anybody would like to ask before we terminate the conversation?
Don, it's
yes.
Mike Kronick here, if I may. Just wanted to go back a little bit to Phil's CEO report, and it truly is an amazing time, Phil and team. We're rolling out all these new transit lines, and certainly the Ontario line is by far, I think, one that is really needed in the city. As we all know, their city is growing at a great clip, and as we implement these important transit lines, certainly these infrastructure projects designate change in communities, and rightly so, communities get concerned, specifically communities that are well entrenched and older. And as we know, the Ontario line is going to be built within quite a built-up area. And I think Metrolinx has done a tremendous job reaching out to communities. But I'm wondering if Phil can just elaborate a little bit on Thorncliffe and the maintenance facility, which is a very important segment of the Ontario line, and how we've engaged the community and the transparency methods we've used.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yes, the building subways through a developed city is always going to be challenging, because everywhere along the route we will affect communities not only during the build and during the construction phases, but also during the setup of the project, the phase we're in now, where we have to procure significant properties, whether for stations or for facilities such as the maintenance and storage facility. We've consulted with the Thorncliffe Park community extensively. For a period of several months, MPP Kathleen Wynne and myself hosted 2 tables. One is a community table, and the other one a community residence table, and the other one was a table for the tenants. And we shared our plans, and we listened to what the community has asked of us. This is a very difficult process. We had very strong voices. There are strong voices in the community that just doesn't want the maintenance and storage facility in that community. So we respectfully understand those, but we shared very transparently the selection criteria according to which the province asked us to make a decision. We've shared the 9 locations that were considered, and then how we ended up with a hybrid of 2 locations in order to meet the criteria for selection. Most importantly, for transparency purposes, we published that. We published it on our website. It's a very long open letter that describes how we've made the selection, what the options were, what the criteria were, and how we're responding to it. And while we can't meet all of the community's requests, we can meet some. The residence table asked for the elevated guideway to be on the north side of Overley, not on the south side of Overley, and we adjusted our plans. We took a lot of advice from tenants in terms of relocation, and we're now midway in a process to relocate tenants. We've bought properties in the Thorncliffe Park area already, and we are working closely with key anchor tenants in terms of how they relocate and redevelop their businesses or their activities, such as what we have in the footprint of the MSF. And there was a group of the community that presented an alternative proposal to us. And according to the same methodology, the Safety Park campaign presented their proposals to us. Our technical team evaluated it. We responded. We briefed the proponents. But we also published an open letter of how we dealt with, very transparently, how we dealt with that proposal and why we couldn't deliver that proposal. I think it's worthwhile for the board to consider the following. These are difficult, challenging times for members in the community, and different messages gets disseminated, and we understand that. And so what we continuously provide through what Kelly and the team does is just consistent messaging about what the real facts are around these choices. And we understand, and we're very courteous and very respectful to the fact that there are different voices in the community, and at times there are different facts being presented, and communities take, we take the engagement with communities very seriously. We're opening community offices. We're putting more people on the ground to talk to individuals at their properties, houses, and the like, and businesses. And this is a big part of our campaign. The fact that there are loud voices out there doesn't change the fact that we have a significant obligation to get messages across, to explain the bigger benefit of transit, as well as to adjust our plans locally. And I'd like to just sort of last comment would be, everywhere we go, like what we've done in Leslieville and Riverside on adjustment of our construction method and making the parks larger, all comes from listening to the community. We now have an open period out there for the community to advise us on what design noise barriers, noise walls they want. And then we will implement what the community wants. On Young North, we've listened to the community in terms of tunneling, noise and vibration remedies, and we'll implement track designs that are much more expensive, but that'll give a similar mitigation for vibration and noise as is under the Opera House in London, where where Subway was recently built. So we do listen.
Thank you for that, Phil. And it does sound like we will have a better transit system with input from the community and then a return through our own understanding of how to build transit. So well done. Thank you for that answer.
Don, you're mute.
Somebody has to do that. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our agenda for our public meeting this morning. And so I pass it back to Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Don, and thank you to the board. It was a really interesting discussion. And thank you to the public for watching in and for your interest in the Metrolinx board meeting. The video of the meeting, as well as the minutes, will be made available in the coming weeks. As the chair said, this is our last meeting for 2021. Our next meeting will again be virtual. It'll be February 17th, 2022. And in the meantime, I want to wish you a happy holidays and a safe 2022 from all of us at Metrolinx. And thank you again.